The Nintendo Switch title Breath of the Wild has been an amazing experience for all Zelda fans across the world since it released. From the new fans to the old fans, Breath of the Wild really knocked it out of the park, and has very quickly become a lot of fans' favourite game in the entire Zelda franchise. Me personally, I love the game to bits. It changed up so much in the Zelda formula that in theory doesn't sound like it would even work for a Zelda game at all. But it truly did. So I've been thinking on this for a while, and it all started when I thought to myself, what could make this amazing game even better? Well, I thought on a few different things. Some of these are along the lines of adding additional towns to the game, better enemies, even to the point of adding more traditional weapons such as the hook shot back into the game. In the end, I was a little puzzled as to what could make this game even better. So I started looking into stuff that was already in the game, but didn't serve much purpose. Well, there was a good few things I could find, but there was one that stood out so much. Past Zelda games such as Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time did this really well, and I was actually a little bit surprised that it wasn't featured in Breath. So what is this thing that I'm talking about? Well, I'm talking about water. Well, more specifically, the ability to dive beneath the water and explore under the water. So, Breath of the Wild is a game heavily focused on you exploring the huge open world of Hyrule, and it certainly has a good bit to explore alright. From scaling mountains to crossing deserts, the game has many different terrains to explore. Well, on your travels in the game, you will notice there is actually a lot of areas consumed by water. Some of them do have somewhat purposes, but the majority are just bodies of water. Nothing but plain, useless water. What if it wasn't just water? What if the Zelda team went a little bit further with it and developed something that would expand Breath's size even more? To me, that sounds pretty awesome, but let's dive into this one a little bit deeper. First of all, if we had the ability to swim beneath the waves of Hyrule in Breath, just think about how much explorability that opens up alone. In each region of the game, there is bodies of water somewhere, some with a lot and some with not so much, but the game definitely has a lot of it, and if it was just a case of you could swim beneath the water, that would be really cool itself. Now, what else? Well, in my opinion, Breath kind of lacked in enemy variety. And if this was in Breath, we could have seen more aquatic enemies, expanding the range of enemies in the game. This could mean amphibious enemies, and enemies that also just swim completely underwater, and you have to battle them beneath the waves. That in my head just sounds really epic. With the ability to dive down, this also opens up the chance to have some sort of underwater cavern systems and shipwreckage to explore, as well as and maybe even tying in some side quests that require you to swim beneath the water. Now, another sort of big thing that could have been done is having underwater shrines. Now, of course, if they did this, they would need to feature shrines designed around other elements as well. But just imagine finding a shrine below the waves of Hyrule, and to take it even further, imagine what it would be like inside the shrines. Do we get shrines that we swim through, similar to the water temple in Ocarina of Time, or do we get a good mix of swimming and on land, like the Lakebed Temple in Twilight Princess? Anyway, all of that as one would have made the game a lot better to me. Going to pick the game up, I kind of thought we would be able to swim beneath the water, as that was one of my favourite parts about one of my favourite Zelda games, Twilight Princess, and how much explorability you could get out of swimming. But I guess it just wasn't to be this time round with Breath. If we could have dove down in the game, I feel like I would have loved it a lot more. But don't get me wrong, it was still an amazing game without this. The last thing, and I'd say the biggest thing that this could have opened up is a real water dungeon. Now yes, this would mean the other dungeons would have to be real dungeons as well, but I mean, who's gonna complain about that? Well, even though we have divine beasts, the team still could have had the chance to make one of the divine beasts underwater to match the location, but sadly, that wasn't possible. I just feel like the Zelda team have missed out on an opportunity that would have made Breath even more enjoyable. Oh, and of course, we could have had a ton more Korok seeds to collect. Just to note, the Zelda team did actually develop a seabed or whatever at the bottom of all the water we see present in Breath. So was it possibly planned at one stage to allow the player to swim below the surface? Let me know your thoughts below. Well, now you know the one thing that I personally would have thought could make Breath of the Wild even better than it already is. Of course the game is amazing itself, but I was genuinely surprised this wasn't present in the game, and I'm interested to know your thoughts on this, so leave them down below. If you didn't already know, I have a Discord server where you can talk to myself and a ton of other awesome people, so be sure to hop on in there through the link below. I hope you all have a good day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.